Just waking up and you're in a bubble in the middle of the jungle. I saw monkeys swinging from the trees, cows walking around, and it's like the first word I saw was death. Your body. If you die, we are not responsible to find your body. On one leg going down the hike, you know, like the rocks were so far apart, so all these bugs were crawling all over my leg.
Jesus, send a sign. I'm saved. There's somebody's flashing a flashlight at me.
Telling you guys about my crazy experience in that bubble hotel. You guys, that was one of the craziest experiences of my life. Not really. I've been through some crazy stuff. And I know I posted a video about it, but I didn't really go into detail about like the whole situation because it was actually crazy. And tell you guys like actually what went down the day that I stayed at that bubble hotel, because it's a crazy story. And I told a couple people the story and they're like, you have to turn this into a story time on your channel. I was like, okay. And I was getting a lot of comments on that story time saying, girl, you need to stop doing this. You're not untouchable. Some girl gonna have a nerve to comment on my video talking about, you're not untouchable. One day you're gonna end up dead living like this. Like, first of all, who are you to tell me how I'm gonna die? I'm gonna take advice from somebody that I do not want to live like. I just don't understand that. There's constantly people in my comments giving me life advice about where I should go, what I should do, how I'm gonna die. Why would I take advice from somebody that I don't want to live the same way you're living? I don't want to live the life you're living, so why would I take advice from you? I would take advice from somebody that I want to have a similar life to. Okay, you're gonna have another comment. You're not untouchable. You're stupid. You wouldn't catch me in the middle of Indonesia. Somebody could have killed you. People are not violent in Indonesia like that. The girl was from the United States. You are in way more danger than I am in Indonesia being killed, whether I'm in a bubble in the middle of the jungle or not. So check yourself before you come in my comments, girl. So in today's video, I'm just going to be talking about, okay, my shirt's coming down. Today's video, I'm just going to be talking about the crazy experience that was me staying in that bubble hotel video. Okay, so where did it all start? I was home. No, I wasn't home. I don't know where I was, but I knew I was going to Bali. And I was like, all right, I want to stay in some cool places when I'm in Bali. I saw this bubble hotel and I actually saw a video on the bubble hotel on YouTube from another girl, and I was like, yo, that looks so cool and I want to stay there. So I went and booked it, and then I forgot that I booked it. And when I was in Bali, I was hanging out with my friend Jasmine Lipska, the one that I was vlogging with, and I'm like, I look at my phone and I'm like, oh snap, I have that bubble hotel booked for today, right? And I already paid for it and everything. You pay as soon as you book it. So I'm like, oh. So it said on the reservation, you can't check in later than 6 o'clock. So I was like, and I saw when I watched the YouTube video that the girl said there was like a 40-minute hike down, or an hour hike down to the bubble. So I'm like, oh snap. And it was in Uluwatu, and I was staying in the main part of Bali, and Uluwatu is about 2.5 hours outside of Bali with my driver, our driver, me and Jasmine's driver. And so I'm like, oh, I gotta be back before 2, I guess, because then we have to start driving down to Uluwatu, which is gonna take 2.5 hours. I'm gonna be there at like 4:30, and I still have to hike. So we were like taking our time, and at the last minute I was like, oh no, I gotta go. We still had to go back to my other hotel so I can get my stuff to go to this hotel, right? So the driver drops me off at my old hotel in Ubud, which is like 2.5, 3 hours away from Uluwatu. So he drops Jasmine off, then he drops me off at my other hotel, and then he is like, I was like, can you just take me to Uluwatu? And I already owed him $350,000, which is like $25. And I said, how much more will it cost for you to take me to Uluwatu? And he's like $450,000. So I paid him $800,000, $60, which isn't bad actually. So for the whole day he was driving us around. So he takes me to the Uluwatu bubble, and we pull up, and it's this random area in the middle of nowhere, and there's nobody outside. I'm like, this is so different from like Bali. Like, this is way different, right? So he takes me to the thing, and there's just like this random shack. I'm like, straight up, it was a shack. I walk up to the shack, and there's just like an old woman carving things with wood. This is like real Indonesia, okay? Because like in Uluwatu, nobody wears shoes, so everybody's walking around barefoot. Even though a lot of people walk around barefoot here in Bali, but in Uluwatu, their feet are like this big. The people in Uluwatu feet, because they don't wear shoes, their feet are like this big. So everybody's walking around with giant feet. Like, I'm not kidding, their feet are like this big, and they walk around with things on their head. They're like real traditional, not modernized Indonesian people, which I think is really cool. So there's just an old lady, no shoes on, like a village looking Indonesian, carving something out of wood, sitting on the step. And I'm like, hi, is this Bubble Hotel? And like, she points to her son, and her son was like, yeah. He was like, here's your contract, sign this, and then I'll take you down to the bubble. And I'm like, I already knew I was going to be in the dark at this point. It was already getting dark, and I was like, I'm going to be hiking in the dark. But I was like, it's no problem, because this guy's going to hike with me. Like, I'm fine as long as he's hiking with me. So he's like, take what you need out of your suitcase before I bring it, and I lock it up inside of my house. Because you can't bring your luggage down to the bubble, obviously, and you wouldn't want to. The hike is too long. So you just take what you need for the night, and then he locks your luggage up in his garage, right? So I'm like, okay. So I take what I need, and I'm flustered. Like, I'm rushing. So I'm not thinking straight. I'm like, I know I want to take a picture. I know there's a beach. So I grab my bathing suit, and then I grab like my face brush, wipe, and I grab some lotion. And then like, I'm flustered because it's getting dark, and I'm just thinking, Maryjane, you're gonna have to hike 40 minutes in the dark. So I wasn't thinking straight. I didn't grab my converter to charge my phone. So because the plugs are different in Indonesia, you know, and I have an American phone. So I was flustered. I didn't grab anything that I really needed. I grabbed my laptop, and I grabbed my a couple of pieces of clothes, and a toothbrush and toothpaste, and some face wipes. And then he grabs my luggage, and he puts it in the thing. So then I look at the contract, and it's like, the first word I saw was death. I'm like, oh no. So I told you guys that the contract said, like, if you die, we're not responsible to get your body. If you die, we are not responsible to find your body or to help you. If you get harmed inside of your bubble, it is not our responsibility. You cannot sue us. You cannot sue us if your family cannot sue us if you go missing, or if you fall off the cliff, because you're hiking on the side of a cliff. I didn't know that part yet. You're literally on the side of a mountain. Like, you're on a cliff hiking. If you fall and whatever, your body goes missing, we are not responsible. Your family cannot sue us. Oh, that's what the contract basically said. I was like, and I give it back to him. He's like, all right, let's go. So I'm like, I'm so grateful. I'm like, thank you. He's walking with me. He's walking with me. And so we're walking for maybe about 5 minutes. And then he stops at the part where it goes down, where it's like a literal hike down a cliff. And he goes, all right, this is where I'm going to leave you by yourself.
I just escort you until here, and now you go down by yourself.
Okay. Okay, guys, they just left me. Now I'm on my own. I've got about a half hour left. Why'd you have to go?
Yourself. He goes, the white we painted white paint on the side of the trees and on the rocks. Just keep following the white paint. He said there's going to be a lot of turns. Don't make the wrong turn because you will get lost, and most likely you will not be able to find your way back if you get lost. So make sure you keep seeing white paint. Go towards the white paint. Don't go down an alley. Don't go down a way that doesn't have white paint. So I'm like, okay. Of course it's getting dark and harder to see the paint. And inside I'm like, oh, on the outside I'm just like, okay. On the inside I'm like, no. So I keep walking, right? And he goes, oh wait. And he grabs me. And I'm like, what? And he goes, there are monkeys that have fangs, right? He said, you're gonna see monkeys out there in the woods. He said, there are monkeys. You don't want any of the monkeys here to bite you, you know? But you especially don't want the monkeys that have fangs that when they open their mouth, they have fangs that come out right here. He said, those are the men. And if they bite you, you will die instantly. Most likely. I was like, thank you. Do not look it in the eyes because that's like the monkey's way. You're saying to the monkey that you want to take it on. If you don't make eye contact with them, most likely they're not going to mess with you. So don't make eye contact. Don't try to touch them. Don't try to take pictures with them. Keep walking. And he said, yeah, don't make any sudden movements and just anything like that. So I'm like, thank you. I thank you for that. So basically at this point, I'm trying to fathom in my brain. I'm like, I'm really, because as soon as he left me, it was like I entered like a literal dark jungle. After he left, it got pitch black. That's why he left. He didn't want to walk in the pitch black down a freaking mountain. And it started to drizzle too, so my feet kept slipping on the rocks. And I was like, all right, do I want to run down this cliff and risk falling and dying, or do I want to walk really slowly and like make this last for a really long time? I was like, all right, let's run, right? So I look at my phone and it's on 10%, and I'm like, I don't have anything to charge my phone. It's on 10%. So I'm like, do I want to turn the flashlight on? You know, like the iPhone has, you can turn a flashlight on like right here, but that runs your battery. But I'm like, I need it. I can't walk in the dark. Like, it's not happening. So I turn my flashlight on. Of course, it starts running my battery. And I see this old lady, and she's carrying, like I said, they all carry the stuff on top of their head. She was barefoot, and she's looking at me, and she's like, Bubble? I think I got that part on the video clip. She's like, Bubble? You going to Bubble? And I'm like, yeah.
Bubble. Yeah, Bubble.
Okay. I'm gonna turn on my beamers. Really? They had to leave me? And she's like, not a good idea. Not a good idea. She said, turn back and go down in the morning. I'm like, I can't. I only have this book for one night. And I don't have any place to stay tonight. This is my place to stay. She's like, okay, please be careful. This hike is very dangerous. And I'm like, okay. Keep walking, and I just kept telling myself, keep tunnel vision, because if I turn and I see a freaking monkey looking at me, like, I'm gonna lose it. So I'm like, and I kept seeing eyeballs. I felt like I was Tarzan, honestly, like, or Jane. Hi, Maryjane is my name. But I felt like I was Tarzan or something, like, in the jungle. Like, it was like a movie. Like, if my eyes wandered to the left or the right, I saw little eyeballs staring at me. I didn't know if it was a bat. I think some of them were bats. And some of them were monkeys. And I kept seeing dogs, but I'm not afraid of dogs. The dogs in Bali are very friendly, and they're wild, like squirrels, and they don't mess with people. I wasn't afraid of the dogs at all. And so I wasn't really afraid of any of the animals. I just didn't want to play with them so they wouldn't bite me and I would die. But I never think I'm gonna die. That's the thing. It's just in the moment you're like, whoa, this is crazy. So at a certain point, it was just pitch black, where like I put my phone was going down to 1%, so I turned the flashlight off, and I look in front of me, and I put my hand in front of me. I can't even see my hand, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm in the dark, and it's not even like I can turn back around because there's nowhere to go back up that hill. I just have to keep going, just keep going. And that's when I started praying out loud. And then I start seeing a little bit like I see little fairy lights, and I'm like, thank you, I'm at the bottom, I'm at the bottom, right? So I see like a little wedding going on. Like there was just the person marrying the couple and the two married couple, and it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. They had, well, not really, but they had tea lights in a big heart, and they were sitting on the beach in the middle of the tea lights getting married. She had a dress on, he had a white suit on, and the person marrying them was marrying them, and like I witnessed it, and they all looked at me when I came down. I'm like, oh, I'm interrupting somebody's wedding, but sorry. But like as soon as I get down, it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life, but the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. As soon as I get out of the woods and I see actual beach, but it wasn't the beach yet, it was still grassland. I looked to the left, and I kid you not, I saw maybe 3,000 cows. I'm not joking. There was about 3,000 cows at least. It was just cows for miles, and it was very dark, so all I really saw was the silhouettes of the cows. But I don't know, it just looked like something you can't explain to somebody. I can't explain this to you, and you can't picture it in your head, because it was just one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. Like once you get out of that jungle thing, once you climb down the cliff, it's like this beautiful untouched jungle, and then you keep walking there to the beach. It wasn't the beach yet, it was still grassland, and I saw maybe 3,000 cows. And it was funny because they're all eating grass, and I literally was like running out of the woods like a crazy person, like nuts. And I had my laptop in this hand, I had my bag in this hand, and I'm running down like I'm running out of the woods. So as soon as I ran down, all the cows, their head was down like this, right? And they all went like this and this at the same time. So imagine like 3,000 cows just eating grass. They see you, they look up, and they do this all at the same time.
Where am I? Oh my gosh, there's a bunch of cows over there, but you can't even see them. Oh my gosh. I'm not panicking though. There are those cows, you can't see them though. Okay, there's poop everywhere. Okay, I'm almost there. Okay, after an hour of hiking in the dark, I made it to the beach, but I can't find my hotel.
And they're just looking at me, all of them, every single one of them. And I even got it on my phone, but it was too dark and I couldn't show you guys because I was like, I didn't know whether to be like frightened or scared or just stare at them because it was just so beautiful. So yeah, it was just crazy. I was just sitting there stunned, like looking at them for like maybe 30 seconds, and I was just like, I gotta keep moving to my bubble. So what the guy told me was, go all the way down to the beach, walk to the water. Once you get to the water, turn left and just keep walking. You are the last bubble on the end, right? So I'm like, I'm walking and I'm walking, and I was walking for like a good half hour and I didn't see any bubbles. And I'm just so confused. I'm like, how am I gonna find this bubble? And I started like freaking out, and that's when I was on my Instagram story and I'm like, you guys, like,
Oh my gosh, what's happening? I can't find the hotel room. I can't find my hotel.
I'm freaking out right now. I don't know where I am. And then I was like screaming, send me a sign, Jesus.
Jesus, send a sign. Send me a sign. Send me a sign. Send me a sign, Jesus. Okay, I can do this, I can do this. Okay.
Send me a sign. And I was dripping in sweat, like dripping. Like, I was so uncomfortable. And I was like, there's not even a shower for me to get once I get to this. Well, there was a shower, but I wasn't showering in that shower. So all of a sudden I see a flashlight waving at me like this, right? And I just hear yelling, and I felt so bad. The guy that was there was waiting for me since 3 o'clock, like waiting at my bubble to tell me about it. And he was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're late. And I'm like, I know, I got stuck in traffic. I'm coming from Ubud.
I'm saved. There, somebody is flashing a flashlight at me. I'm saved. Thank you, Jesus. Okay, I'm coming, you guys. Here I come, here I come, here I come. Number 6? Yeah?
I can give you move here because it's very far from there.
Oh,
Even here.
okay.
Why you let me?
Traffic,
Yeah?
traffic.
And he was like, we're waiting for you out here since 3 o'clock. I'm like, well, it's not such a bad thing to, like, you're waiting on the beach. You know what I'm saying? Like, chill, okay? And so he's like, all right. And he tells me, here are your towels. And he was looking at me and he goes, because I was so flustered and my arms were shaking, like both, because I was carrying so much stuff. And you know when you're carrying heavy stuff and you're on a hike, and the hike was hard. So like, it's like, I just did a workout and I was dripping in sweat and I just looked so flustered, and like my arms, I couldn't get my arms to stop shaking, so I'm just sitting there and I'm shaking and I'm looking at the guy and I'm like, okay, and I'm looking at him like, and he's just like, oh my gosh. He was like, take a second to get yourself together. Are you okay? He like looked at me like he felt so bad for me. And he's like, how old are you? Everybody always thinks I'm a little kid. I'm like, I'm 23. He's like, really? I'm like, yes. He's like, I would have guessed you're 18, 19 years old. He's like, you're a baby. I'm like, I'm not a baby. He's like, you're a baby. He's like, you're here by yourself? I'm like, yes. And I'm sitting there shaking. And he was just like, and he grabs a bottle of water and he's like, drink it and sit down. I'm not even gonna show you your bubble yet. He said, just relax, please. And I'm like, no, please show me my bubble because I just want to get in there. And he was looking at me and he's like, okay. So he gives me a towel, and the towel's for like in case you get in the water or you take a shower, but like he gave me a towel and I like put it on my head and like put it around my neck, and it was like soaked because it was very hot and I was hiking for an hour. So I get to the bubble, and then he's like telling me about it, and then he goes, he gives me a flashlight and he takes it around the corner and he's like, there's the toilet, it was just sitting in the woods, and he's like, and there's the shower. And I'm like, okay. And then he's like, everything good? I'm like, yeah. And then he just walks away. And then I said, excuse me? And he's like, yeah. And he was like, I was like, where are the other bubbles? He's like, they're spaced out very far, so that because the bubble's clear, you know, you don't want other people to be able to see you while you're sleeping and everything. He's like, they're spaced out really far, so the other bubbles are very far from you, so you don't have to worry about people looking at you while you're, you know, and you'll clearly know if somebody is approaching you because you'll be able to hear it because it was quiet in that jungle. But here, there's woods, you'd hear the woods crunching, everything like that. So the bubbles are very spaced apart. So I'm like kind of by myself. He's like, yeah, you're like completely by yourself. And I'm like, okay. And then he just walks away, and then it hit me. I'm like, I am in a clear bowl in the middle of the jungle, Uluwatu, in Indonesia, 23 years old, completely by myself. I was like, okay. Like, okay, just another day in the life for Maryjane Byarm, okay? And it started hitting me, and I'm like, it's too freaking quiet, like, by myself, completely. This is insane. It's an experience in and of itself. I like to have stuff playing. I like to have my YouTube videos playing, or my Gilmore Girls, or Avatar, like when I'm like at nighttime. Oh, and if you're wondering if there's Wi-Fi, there isn't. Completely in the wilderness. Completely. So it hit me. I was like, wow, like I'm really by myself completely. And I don't know if I've ever been by myself like that before. on that level where like I've been, most of the time I'm by myself in countries. There's always people around. Like I don't know if I've ever been on that level of by myself before, so it was just very interesting experience. And I was like, wow. And like every time I wanted to be afraid a little bit, I was like, wow. So like my brother and I were watching Tomb Raider a couple weeks before when I was home in New Jersey. And like her life is crazy, Tomb Raider. And that's something he said to me. And my brothers do not hand out compliments easily. They really don't. They're like tough, you know, people. But he was like, yo, you're like Tomb Raider, while we were watching it.
I think I know where my dad went.
That's right in the middle of the Devil's Sea.
It will be an adventure.
Death is not an adventure.
And like, I was like, oh my gosh, because like, for them to say something like that, like, they mean it, because they don't just be saying stuff just to say it. And I'm like, I guess I am kind of like Tomb Raider, because we were just watching the new Tomb Raider, and like her life is crazy. Like she was out in the wilderness by herself, but like, and all these crazy things kept happening to her, but like it was who she was meant to be, and she was so brave all the time, and people always calling her stupid, and she was always helping people. And it was just her lifestyle, how it was meant to be. So I was like, I kept remembering that after you said that, like, yo, you're like Tomb Raider. Like she was in the jungle by herself, and then like she fell from a plane that was like crashing, I think, and then like a branch pierced her stomach, and she had to pull the branch out of her stomach, and then she had to sew herself up, and like she had to like sleep in the woods by herself and like make her own food out of like, you know, fish she killed. And she was always traveling the world. She was in Hong Kong one day, the next day she was in like Argentina, and then the next day she was sailing on the boat between Hong Kong and California, like going through the most dangerous paths in the world. And people are always telling her like, you know, you're like you don't want to do this is like the most dangerous way you could possibly live, or you can't do this because this is dangerous. And she didn't care, and she did it anyways. And she was just like, and that's when my brother was like, yo, your life is like Tomb Raider. Not that I raid tombs, but you know, just the way she kind of lived and the way she was. And that like stuck with me. And I'm like, yo, like, and I was like, this is hold on. Now I'm kind of feeling it, this experience, because like I'm really like Tomb Raider. I'm like, yo, and people call me, I've been called Tomb Raider more than once in my YouTube comments and everything like that. So I was just feeling cool, like, yo, this is some Tomb Raider stuff. Like, this is some Tomb Raider stuff, yo. I'm like, and I just start feeling really blessed, and I'm like, who gets to live like this? Who? I just was like, wow. I just always have those moments when I'm just like, I am beyond blessed. And if anybody was meant to live this way, it's me. I don't want to be somebody who, let me research the world's safest countries so I am never in danger, like you guys tell me to do 24/7. Well, not you guys, but the people, that's not safe, don't do that. I am not that girl. I don't care what's safe to you. I don't party, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't even hang out, you know, at nighttime. I don't do any, the things that I like to do are this. Traveling, being adventurous, it's who I am. I don't care if it's safe. My life goal is not to be safe. So that when I'm 80 years old, if I'm blessed to live that long, well, my whole life I was safe, so it was a good life. No. I want to be, I like to ride the edge. It's who I am. So anyways, didn't want to think about the hike back up the mountain. I was like, let me just take it one step at a time. Don't think about the hike back up the mountain tomorrow because it's hard. So next thing I know, I'm asleep, and I wake back up and I see birds chirping, and I didn't cry, but like I felt like I was about to cry. Just waking up and you're in a bubble in the middle of the jungle. I saw monkeys swinging from the trees, cows walking around, and I'm literally just looking up in a bubble in the middle of the Indonesian jungle, and everything was so peaceful. I heard the ocean. I was just like, my life is just insane. So I literally just was crying on the inside for like an hour. I was just like, there's something wrong with me in my life, but in a 100% good way. So I got up and I tried to get some pictures, and I just walked up and down the beach before I prepared myself for the hike back up, because I'm like, the hike's gonna be twice as hard going back up because you're going uphill, and the whole hike was downhill. You know, like when something's so steep your legs shake when you're going downhill? Like, the rocks were so far apart from each other, my legs were shaking going down the hike, because like you would put so much weight on one leg going down the hike, you know, like the rocks were so far apart. So I'm like, this is gonna be twice as hard going up, and I just was dreading it, but I'm like, whatever. So I just, let's just get this done. I do it, and I was sweating like a dog, but I actually kind of liked it because I felt like I was working out. I was like, I never get to go to gyms because I travel so much. It's kind of like going to the gym, right? But like times 10. So I got it done. I ran most of it because I just wanted to get it over with, and my legs started sweating. Bad idea. I did it in shorts. Bad idea, because my legs started sweating. So all these bugs were crawling all over my legs, because the bugs here like wet skin. So my legs were just covered in bugs, and I was just not thinking about it. I'm like, I'm Tomb Raider, and so this happens in Tomb Raider all the time. So I get up the mountain. So I'm like, what? So I'm like, what is happening? Like, where is everybody? And so I'm looking around, and there's nobody around. It's not like Bali. It's not like Bali. It's totally different. It's like old Indonesia. So I get up to reception, you guys, and this is where the story really takes a turn for like just crazy. I didn't see a person in sight, and so I look at my phone, and then the second and I'm like,